Welcome to our deep dive today.
Yeah.
You've shared some really fascinating excerpts from Brynjolfsson and McAfee's book. It's called The Second Machine Age, and we're here to help you navigate this complex topic.
Absolutely.
And it's all about how technology is transforming our world,
Yeah.
creating some amazing opportunities,
Right.
but also like some big questions for all of us.
Yeah, the book does a great job of exploring both the exciting potential and the challenges of this
Right.
era of rapid technological change.
Okay, so the authors start with this idea that we're not just talking about cool gadgets here.
Yeah.
They argue that we're in a fundamentally different period of technological progress. What makes this era so different?
It's the sheer speed and scale of the advancements. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
The smartphone in your pocket is millions of times more powerful than the computers that were used to put a man on the moon.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to something called Moore's Law, which describes how computing power doubles roughly every 18 months.
Wow.
This exponential growth is driving innovations that were once science fiction into reality.
So it's not just that technology is advancing.
Right.
It's advancing at an accelerating rate.
Exactly.
And the authors use this this really interesting analogy
Yeah.
to illustrate this point, the second half of the chessboard.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. Imagine a chessboard.
Okay.
And on each square, we're doubling the number of grains of rice.
Okay.
In the beginning, the growth seems slow,
Yeah.
almost insignificant. But as we move across the board, the numbers get unbelievably huge.
Right.
That's the power of exponential growth, and that's what we're seeing with technology today.
Okay.
We're in the second half of the chessboard where things are taking off in ways we could barely imagine just a few years ago.
That's such a great way to visualize it.
Yeah.
It really highlights how we tend to underestimate the power of exponential growth. And it explains why we're seeing these groundbreaking technologies emerge so rapidly.
Right.
The authors call them general purpose technologies, or GPTs.
Yeah.
What makes these GPTs so special?
Well, unlike technologies that are designed for very specific tasks, GPTs have the potential to transform entire industries and societies.
Okay.
Think about the steam engine during the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
It revolutionized manufacturing, transportation, even the way we lived.
Yeah.
Today, we have new GPTs like the computer and the internet, which are having a similarly profound impact on our world.
You mentioned self-driving cars earlier, and it's mind-boggling to think that
Yeah.
cars can now navigate complex traffic situations without human intervention.
It is.
That's a pretty clear example of the GPT in action, right?
Absolutely. And it's just one example. We're also seeing AI systems like Watson beating human champions at Jeopardy
Right.
and demonstrating incredible abilities in language processing and information retrieval.
Amazing.
Algorithms are writing news articles.
Wow. 3D printers are creating objects on demand.
Yeah,
Robotics is challenging our assumptions about what machines can and can't do.
it really is.
These advancements are impacting every aspect of our lives.
So we're seeing this explosion of innovation powered by GPTs.
Yeah.
But what does it actually mean for us?
Right.
The authors talk about the economic implications of these advancements,
Yeah.
highlighting both the bounty and the spread.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with the good news first.
Okay.
The bounty.
The bounty refers to the incredible wealth and opportunities that technology creates.
Okay.
Think about the free digital goods and services we have access to today.
Right.
Things like GPS navigation, online encyclopedias, social media platforms,
Yeah.
streaming music services. These create immense value for individuals and society as a whole.
It's like we have a world of knowledge and entertainment at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And much of it is free.
Right.
It's incredible when you stop to think about it.
It is. But traditional economic measures like GDP don't always capture this new kind of value, do they?
That's right. Traditional metrics struggle to account for the value of free digital goods and services.
Right.
So we may be underestimating the true bounty of this technological revolution.
Okay.
However, Brynjolfsson and McAfee also point out that this bounty isn't being distributed equally.
Right.
That's where the spread comes in.
So even as technology is creating this abundance, the gap between those who benefit
Right.
and those who are left behind is widening.
Absolutely.
And that's a significant concern.
It is a big concern. The authors present some striking statistics about the growing income gap,
Yeah.
highlighting how a small percentage of people are capturing a disproportionate share of the gains from technological progress.
They point out that in the U.S., the top 1% of earners now take home more than 20% of all income.
Yeah,
And this trend is happening not just in the US,
Right.
but in many countries around the world.
That's right.
This growing inequality raises some really important questions about the future of work.
Yeah.
And the role of technology in shaping our society. Can technology be harnessed to benefit everyone?
Right.
Or will it exacerbate existing divides and create new ones?
These are questions we'll continue to explore in part 2 of our deep dive.
Yeah.
We'll delve deeper into the economic consequences of these advancements,
Right.
the potential for technological unemployment, and what it all means for the future of work.
Looking forward to it.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the second machine age.
Yeah.
In the last part, we talked about the incredible pace of technological change
Right.
and how it's creating both immense opportunities, the authors call bounty,
Yeah.
and some significant challenges, especially when it comes to the growing inequality or spread.
That's right. And this brings us to a really crucial question.
Okay.
What does this all mean for the future of work?
Right.
Will technology ultimately lead to mass unemployment? It's a question that's been around for centuries, really.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the Luddites back in the 19th century
Right.
who were smashing up those new textile machines
Uh-huh.
because they feared they were stealing their jobs.
And their fears weren't entirely unfounded.
Right.
Technological progress has always caused job displacement, but historically it's also led to the creation of new jobs, often in industries that didn't even exist before.
So new technologies, new jobs.
Right.
But is this time different?
That's the question, isn't it?
Are we heading towards a future where robots are doing all the work?
Well, the authors explore both sides of this debate.
Okay.
Some economists argue that new jobs will always emerge,
Okay.
that human ingenuity will find new problems to solve and new ways to create value.
So even if some jobs disappear, we'll just invent new ones.
That's the idea. They point out that we shouldn't underestimate human adaptability.
Okay.
After all, we've managed to navigate previous waves of technological disruption.
But what about the other side of the argument?
Yeah.
Are there economists who are genuinely worried about a jobless future?
Yes, there are economists who are concerned about the potential for structural unemployment,
Okay.
where technology permanently eliminates certain types of jobs, and those workers can't be easily retrained for new roles.
It does make you wonder what happens when machines become so capable
Yeah.
that they can do practically everything better and cheaper than humans.
Right.
What would be left for us to do?
To illustrate this point, the authors present a thought experiment.
Okay.
Imagine a world where androids can perform any job a human can,
Okay.
except for cooking. What do you think would happen?
Well, I guess everyone would want to be a chef,
Right.
but there would only be so many restaurants and kitchens to work in.
Exactly. And as you can imagine, the wages for cooks would plummet.
Right.
Because of the intense competition.
Yeah. Even in this hypothetical scenario where there are still jobs for humans,
Okay.
the spread we talked about earlier.
That gap between the haves and the have-nots
Right.
would likely increase dramatically.
Yeah.
It raises some pretty serious questions about the long-term impacts of these technological advancements.
It's definitely a sobering thought.
Is.
So are we all doomed to become unemployed cooks trying to out-chef the robots?
Not necessarily. The authors believe that humans can remain valuable,
Okay.
even in a world of increasingly intelligent machines, but it requires a shift in focus.
So what do we need to do?
We need to develop skills that complement technology
Okay.
rather than trying to compete with it head on.
Yeah.
We need to figure out what we're good at that machines aren't.
Okay, that makes sense, but what are those skills?
Yeah.
What should we be focusing on?
They emphasize skills like ideation, large frame pattern recognition, and complex communication.
So basically being more creative,
Yeah.
thinking about the big picture, and communicating our ideas effectively.
Right.
Those sound like pretty valuable skills even without robots in the picture.
Exactly. And they're skills that are harder to automate.
Oh,
The authors use the example of framing and pattern recognition.
okay.
Computers are great at recognizing patterns within a specific frame, but they struggle when that frame changes.
It's like teaching a computer to identify cats in pictures.
Right.
It might be really good at it,
Yeah.
but if you showed a picture of a cat from an unusual angle
Yeah.
or in a different context,
Right.
it might not recognize it.
Precisely. But humans with our broader sensory experiences and ability to adapt to new contexts are better at handling those kinds of shifts in framing.
Okay.
We can see the bigger picture and connect the dots in ways that computers still struggle with.
The authors also give the example of Zara, the clothing company.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of relying on algorithms to decide which clothes to produce,
Right.
they use human store managers.
Those managers are out on the floor interacting with customers, observing trends, and picking up on those subtle cues that an algorithm might miss.
So they're using their intuition and experience.
Yes, it's a form of intelligence that's still very much human.
So we need to be less like calculators and more like Zara store managers.
That's a great way to put it. We need to leverage our uniquely human abilities.
Yeah, okay.
Our creativity, our adaptability, our social intelligence.
But that brings us to another challenge.
Yeah.
Are we actually doing enough to prepare people for this new world of work?
Right.
Are our education systems teaching these essential skills?
That's a question the authors raise.
Yeah.
And they're not overly optimistic. They cite research that suggests many college students aren't developing these skills.
Really?
They point out that there's this growing gap in earnings between those with and without college degrees.
Right.
But if those degrees aren't teaching the skills that are actually needed in the second machine age, then we're setting up a whole generation for failure.
It feels like we're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
Technology is advancing at an incredible pace.
It is.
And the question is, are we keeping up? Are we adapting our skills, our education systems,
Yeah.
and our economic policies to thrive in this new era?
Those are exactly the right questions to be asking.
Okay, good.
And thankfully, the authors don't just leave us with a bunch of daunting questions and anxieties.
Okay, good.
They actually offer some potential solutions.
Okay, so they've laid out the challenges, but they also have some ideas about how to navigate this new landscape.
They do.
I'm eager to hear what they propose.
All right, we'll delve into those solutions in the final part of our deep dive.
All right, so we're back for this final part of our deep dive into the second machine age.
Yes.
And so far, we've really explored how technology is transforming our world at this incredible pace. You know,
Right.
create some amazing opportunities, but also raising some pretty big questions about the future of work
Yeah.
and that gap that seems to be growing between the people who are benefiting from these advancements and those who are being left behind.
Right.
It's a lot to take in. But
Yeah.
the good news is that the authors don't just leave us hanging with a sense of impending doom.
Thankfully, no. They actually offer a set of concrete solutions.
Okay.
A playbook for navigating the second machine age.
All right.
And creating a future where everyone can benefit.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this playbook.
They call it the Econ 101 playbook.
Okay.
And it's based on solid economic principles.
Right.
The first play, and arguably the most important, is investing in education.
We touched on this in the last part.
Yeah.
This need to develop skills that complement technology,
Right.
like creativity and complex communication and big picture thinking. But how do we actually teach those things?
Right.
It's not like memorizing multiplication tables.
It's not. It's a different kind of learning.
Right.
We need to move beyond rote learning and standardized tests.
Yeah.
The authors advocate for more personalized learning approaches,
Okay.
hands-on experiences, and project-based learning.
So less time sitting in lectures.
Yeah.
More time actually doing and creating.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're calling for a pretty fundamental shift in the way we think about education.
They are, and they also emphasize the importance of lifelong learning. In a world where technology is constantly evolving, we need to be constantly updating our skills.
Right.
It's not just about what you learn in school, it's about being adaptable
Yeah.
and embracing a mindset of continuous learning.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So education is the first play.
Right.
What else is in this Econ 101 playbook?
The second play focuses on fostering entrepreneurship.
Okay.
They see it as a key driver of innovation and job creation,
Yeah.
pointing out that new businesses are far more likely to create new jobs than existing firms.
So we need more people starting businesses and creating new opportunities.
Exactly. But they also acknowledge that entrepreneurship is facing some headwinds.
Like what?
Things like bureaucratic regulations,
Okay.
difficulty accessing capital,
Yeah.
and a culture that often discourages risk-taking.
Starting a business can be incredibly risky. And I imagine a lot of people are hesitant to take that leap.
Right.
What do they suggest we do about that?
They argue that we need to create an environment that is more supportive of entrepreneurship.
Okay.
That means streamlining regulations, making it easier for startups to access funding, and celebrating those who are willing to take risks and try new things, even if they don't always succeed.
So less red tape.
Yeah.
More investment.
Yeah.
And a greater tolerance for failure.
Right.
It sounds like they're calling for a cultural shift as much as an economic one.
They are, and the third play in their playbook is all about immigration. They make a compelling case for attracting and retaining talented immigrants. Arguing that they play a crucial role in innovation and economic growth.
You know, they share a personal anecdote in the book.
Yeah.
About one of the author's own experiences with the U.S. immigration system.
All right.
And it doesn't exactly paint a rosy picture.
No, it doesn't.
It sounds like it could be a real obstacle course.
Yeah. It can be, and they argue that the current system is often slow, bureaucratic, and inefficient. They believe that it's actually driving away talented people who could be contributing so much to our economy.
So what do they propose we do?
They advocate for reforms that would make it easier for skilled immigrants to come to and stay in the U.S. They believe that attracting the best and brightest from around the world is essential for maintaining our competitive edge in the global economy.
So we've got education, entrepreneurship, and immigration. Any other big plays in this playbook?
The fourth play focuses on infrastructure, both physical and digital. They talk about the need for better transportation systems, expanded broadband access, and modernized energy grids. They see these as critical foundations for a thriving economy in the second machine age.
That makes sense. But infrastructure projects can be incredibly expensive and time-consuming. How do we pay for all this?
That brings us to the fifth play, tax reform. And I know nobody likes talking about taxes. But they're an essential part of the equation.
I have to admit, whenever I hear the word taxes, my eyes start to glaze over a little.
I understand.
But I'm willing to hear them out. What do they propose?
They argue that our current tax system is outdated and needs to be reformed to reflect the realities of the second machine age. And they're not necessarily advocating for higher taxes. In fact, they suggest we should shift the tax burden away from labor and towards things we want to discourage, like pollution. They also discuss the potential benefits of a consumption tax or a value-added tax, VAT.
So less taxing of work and more taxing of things that harm the environment or our health. It's an interesting idea. It seems like they're trying to create a tax system that incentivizes the kinds of activities that will lead to a more sustainable and equitable economy.
Exactly. And finally, the sixth play in their playbook is all about incentivizing innovation through prizes and public-private partnerships.
They cite examples like the X Prize, which offered a multi-million-dollar reward to the first private team to send a spacecraft into space. It really spurred a lot of innovation in the private space industry.
It did, and they point to challenge.gov. A government platform that uses crowdsourcing to find solutions to a wide range of problems. As another successful example, they believe that by creating the right incentives, we can tap into a wellspring of human ingenuity and solve some of the biggest challenges facing our world.
It's inspiring to think that we have the power to shape the future, that it's not just something that happens to us.
I agree. The second machine age is full of both challenges and possibilities. And I think Brynjolfsson and McAfee have given us a roadmap for navigating this uncharted territory.
This has been a truly fascinating deep dive.
It has.
You've managed to break down some pretty complex ideas. And make them really accessible.
I feel like I have a much better understanding of the forces shaping our world.
Glad to hear it.
And what we can do to create a better future.
So to everyone listening out there, keep asking those tough questions.
Keep learning.
Keep exploring new ideas and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Absolutely.
The future is ours to create. And that's what the deep dive is all about. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.